You guys get ready, because today we are untangling one of the absolute wildest legal disputes in recent memory. We are talking about a massive $200,000 missing Lego collection, a hostile corporate store takeover, and a vigilante YouTuber who may have taken internet justice way, way too far. It's a story that crosses state lines and completely blurs the line between property rights and sheer, unadulterated chaos.
Now, whatever you do, don't click away. I promise you, this is not just another piece of AI slop. This is a 100% human-researched, deeply informative, educational, and honestly, highly entertaining explainer. And look, before we dive into the corporate drama, you gotta know, this story gets so wild it eventually involves deepfake AI, hidden cameras, and real-world disguises. But at its core, it's a human story about a family just trying to get their stuff back.
Seriously, we put so much effort into the research here, we just literally cannot afford a good video editing machine. So if you appreciate explainers that dive deep into complex, real-world legal battles like this one, do us a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps us bring more of these crazy cases to light. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the missing fortune, then look at the hostile takeover and this crazy thing called the yellow dot mystery. Then we'll introduce the reckless YouTuber, break down the 4 massive legal fights, and finally try to answer, where is the Lego?
All right, part 1, the missing Lego fortune. Let's establish the stakes here.
So Brian Mancel signed a consignment deal with a bricks and minifig store, which basically means his family legally owned the inventory right up until it actually sold. And guys, this wasn't just a few dusty toys in a bin. Mancel valued his collection at over $200,000. To put that in legal terms, under Oregon law, a theft of anything over 10 grand is aggravated theft. Plus, Brian's father is 83 years old. That triggers elder financial abuse laws, meaning any civil damages could literally triple.
Now, I know what you're thinking, $200,000 is a lot. But even if you look at way more conservative estimates, the numbers are still massive. Third-party records reviewing just the boxed sets alone place the value somewhere between $60,000 and $98,000. So look, no matter whose math you use, we are talking about a literal fortune sitting inside that store.
But here's where the record just completely screeches to a halt. The franchisor, BAM Franchising, who eventually took over the store, claims that after their takeover, they only found between $2,000 and $5,000 worth of items that could possibly be related to the Mancel collection, and they offered it back just as a courtesy. I mean, that is a massive, massive discrepancy. So where did the rest of it go?
Moving on to part 2, the hostile franchise takeover. This is what happens when corporate steps in.
This entire mystery hinges on this one takeover. Basically, a year after signing the consignment deal, Brian Mancel visited the store only to find BAM Franchising had ousted the original operator, taken over the location, and completely changed the locks. Mancel was essentially locked out from his own property, so he sent a formal 10-day demand letter for his Lego and his money. And crickets. 10 days passed with absolutely no reply.
Predictably, this sparked massive finger-pointing. BAM Franchising claims this was never their deal, that the original owner, Crystal, broke company rules because consignment wasn't allowed, and BAM never signed any contract. Crystal, on the flip side, claims BAM absolutely knew about the consignment. She says the franchise agreement actually did allow it, and that she specifically told them who owned the inventory when they seized the store. All right, part 3, the yellow dot mystery. Could this be the smoking gun? You know, when corporate records conveniently go missing, you have to look for physical clues. The Mancels had actually marked their items with these distinct little yellow dot stickers, placed right on the UPC codes. Well, after BAM took over, someone connected to Brian went into the store and actually bought a sealed set right off the shelf. And guess what? It still had the yellow dot on it. The family says they were never paid for this post-takeover sale, but it gets wilder. Crystal alleges that BAM intentionally removed these yellow dots from other sets. If that's true, it strongly suggests someone was actively trying to erase the evidence and make the property way harder to trace. Okay, we are only halfway through this mess, and the liability is already incredibly tangled. So, I gotta ask, based on franchise law, who do you think is actually at fault so far? Is it the original store owner who accepted the consignment, or the corporate franchise that seized the assets? Drop your best legal theories down in the comments right now, because I really want to know what you guys think. Okay, let's get into part 4. Enter the reckless YouTuber.
Welcome to Vigilante Internet Justice. This is the exact moment the story pivots from a standard, boring corporate dispute into total internet vigilantism. Enter Reckless Ben, a YouTuber who launched a completely rogue operation to get the Lego back. We're talking hidden cameras planted inside the store, which, by the way, is legally super dicey in Oregon if you don't inform people you're recording audio. When the store operators demanded an apology from Brian to return the sets, Ben allegedly created a deep-fake AI video of Brian apologizing, just to test them. Later, down in Utah, Ben's team allegedly dressed up as delivery workers, using fake contracts to trick managers, and get this, even dressed up as church congregation members to approach BAM employees at their private homes.
Obviously, these incredibly confrontational tactics caught up with him. In March 2026, Utah police arrested Ben. He was hit with multiple misdemeanor charges for stalking, targeted residential picketing, disorderly conduct, and criminal trespassing. Now, Ben claims he was just pulled over for a bogus stop sign violation and that the police illegally searched his car and his Airbnb specifically looking for stolen Lego merchandise without proper legal cause.
Well, BAM Franchising did not take this sitting down. They retaliated, and they retaliated hard. They didn't just seek a restraining order against Ben, they actively tried to get his videos taken down and even reached out to Patreon to deplatform him. That's a move that honestly often looks a lot more like silencing criticism than protecting employees. Even more controversially, BAM sued Brian Mancel himself, claiming he directed Ben's whole campaign. Mancel's side argues this is a textbook slap suit, a lawsuit designed purely to make the fight so incredibly expensive that the victim is just forced into silence.
The escalation here is completely mind-blowing, right? I mean, we went from missing plastic bricks to hidden cameras, church disguises, and AI deepfakes. If you know someone who is fascinated by bizarre legal loopholes or crazy corporate overreach, you have to share this explainer with them. They won't believe it.
Let's look at part 5, 4 massive legal fights, the ultimate gridlock. Because of the corporate mess and the YouTuber's absolutely chaotic intervention, we don't just have one lawsuit here. We have 4 simultaneous legal battles. First, an open criminal investigation in Oregon looking into aggravated theft. Second, BAM's civil lawsuit in Utah against Ben and Brian. Third, Ben's own criminal trespassing case in Utah. And fourth, Crystal, the original store owner, is now directly suing BAM for seizing her assets and blaming her for the missing inventory. It is an absolute, incredibly tangled mess of accountability. As BAM attempts to defend itself, they've pointed to old point-of-sale records. They argue that these records show roughly $60,000 worth of Star Wars lots were sold prior to the corporate takeover. But there is a glaring legal reality here. Those POS records do not prove which exact sets were sold. They cannot definitively prove that the sold items belong to the Mancel family, which leaves massive, massive holes in their defense.
And that brings us to part 6. Where is the Lego? The unresolved climax.
Here is the craziest part. Everyone agrees a highly valuable collection existed in that store, yet the original owner is missing his property, the franchise lacks full records, and the inventory is completely mixed up. If the Mancel family doesn't have it, and BAM claims they only found a tiny fraction of it, where is the Lego right now? It is literally a $200,000 question the legal system is desperately trying to answer. Make sure to subscribe to catch our next explainer, and thanks so much for untangling this wild mystery with me today.